Good morning, Earth scientists. It is Wednesday, February 1st. So bye bye January and hello February. So, what do we got going on today? We're going to start kind of a wrap up with chemical and physical weathering, our chemical and physical weathering cut and paste. We'll kind of wrap that up, as well as start talking about glaciers. So, I can describe examples of physical weathering and chemical weathering on Earth's surface. We will start with kind of a wrap up on our cut paste activity from yesterday. So we'll get some work time to finish that. Some classes were in different places, so time to draw and whatnot. And then we'll go through the answers. So if you happen to have your science stuff, you can pause the video and you can double check your answers to make sure that they are all correct. So that is the physical weathering side, and then the chemical weathering side. Again, pause the video, check your answers, make sure that they are correct, so that you have a wonderful resource that shows all the information that you need to know on chemical and physical weathering. Then talk a little bit about the study guide. Remember, we just have this quick quiz that'll happen next Thursday, which will be the day before Exploratory Day, so February 9th. And really, with that cut paste sheet, you should be able to do the entire front page of your study guide. So all that information is right there. Then what we will do is we will get into glaciers. Glaciers have shaped Minnesota tremendously. So we will define what is a glacier, talk about that a little bit. And glaciers are large masses of moving ice that form from compacting snow. And then we'll talk a little bit about how about Minnesota. Has Minnesota been shaped by glaciers? What if Minnesota was more like the Badlands of South Dakota? And then Mrs. Anderson brought in some really cool pictures from her family trip to the Badlands. So you can see what the Badlands look like and think that Minnesota used to look like this. Not have faces like Mount Rushmore, but can you imagine that if you looked out your back window and this is what you saw? It would be strangely different than what we typically see in Minnesota. So that is what Minnesota used to look like. However, with all the glacial activity that we've had, it has flattened out Minnesota. We'll talk about where we can see some of this evidence around St. Michael. We have Monticello's Little Mountain. We have Powder Ridge. We'll talk a little bit about some of the glacial activity around St. Michael. So how Powder Ridge is actually the result of a glacier. So Powder Ridge would not exist if it wasn't for glaciers. And then this Monticello Mountain, we'll talk a little bit about that if you've ever heard of that. But however, we can see glacial activity in Monticello, which is only like 5 miles away. Powder Ridge is a little bit further away. And just kind of talk about Minnesota and how we know by looking at satellite imagery, we can see how the glaciers have shaped Minnesota. And we will end the hour with this activity called The Glacier Did It. We are just going to be working on the predicting side of it. We are going to write one sentence definition and draw a picture. And yeah, it's all predicting. So what do you think a Kettle Lake is? What do you think an esker, glacial lake, drumlin, striations, erratic, moraine? What do you think those things are? It's just a predict. There's no right or wrong answer. You take a guess, you fill it out, and that is that. And then we'll come back tomorrow and we will get the article and we'll read through it and see how close you got. Have an amazing day, and I will see you when you return to class.